Let's do a little bit of cleanup. In most situations, you're going to have test utilities like we have for the response object. If we check out the auth middleware, we have the class response defined here, and that's not the ideal case. What we want to do is in the test folder, have an utils folder, and then for each utility, we'll place it here. Let's start with the response.js. Here, we're going to export default, the class response. And I'll just cut this out of here and export it by default from this file. Now we need to import this util and use it in this test. For that, I'll come to my barrel.rc file and define an alias. This is going to be to add test, and it's going to point to the test folder. Next, in my auth.spec.js, I can import response from @test/utils/response. We run our test to make sure we've not broken anything. After running our test, everything passes except this one file, which is the test/utils/response.js. Now Jest automatically runs every single file in the test folder as a test. It doesn't know that response.js is not a test, and now it tells us it must contain at least one test. So we need to configure Jest to know that everything in the utils folder is not a test. To do that, at the root of our project, we'll create a file called jest.config.js. We are going to export an object. And this is going to contain configurations for Jest. The first is test path ignore patterns. And this is an array of regular expressions that Jest is not going to run tests from. So it's going to test each and every file, and then if it matches this regular expression, then it's not going to run that file as a test. So we're going to add utils here, which means any file that matches this path should not be run as a test. Now let's run our test again. And we have a successful test, and Jest automatically ignored that. Now let's add another util, which is going to be mongoose.js. This is basically going to connect and disconnect from Mongoose, just to help us so we don't have to rewrite it all the time. So I'm going to import Mongoose in this file. Next, I'm going to bring out the code we use for connecting, and I'm going to export a constant called connect, and this is going to be a function that returns mongoose.connect. Then I'm also going to export another constant called disconnect, and this is going to call mongoose.connection.close. Now in our auth.spec, we can get rid of mongoose and import connect and disconnect from test/utils mongoose. And now in the before all, we can call await connect, and in the after all, we can call await disconnect. Now with Jest, it's possible to have a setup file, and this setup file is going to be run before Jest actually starts running your test. But in this case, we don't want to do that because we have a full stack project, and if we are testing the client side, there's no need to establish a database connection. Also, you're going to find out when we are running integration test, the database connection is automatically done by the Express server, and we do not need to do this. So we are only going to manually establish a connection in the specific tests that need a connection. Okay, now let's run our test to make sure the refactor still works. And it does. The final step is in our model. We also have to get rid of the connection and use the util connection. So I'll import connect and disconnect from our test utils. And before all tests, I would await connect, and after all tests, I would await disconnect. We can get rid of importing mongoose, run my test, and the test passed successfully.